I'm Krystle Star with Illuminerdi, and this week we're going to be talking about Star Trek Lower Decks episode 9, Crisis Point.
Nice one.
This episode starts off with Mariner fixing a crisis on a foreign planet the way she thought to do best. She was honestly super happy with the way that she handled everything, and I think she even stated that her mom's going to be proud of her, which was kind of a foreshadowing of the entire episode. Her mom beams in very upset. She couldn't believe the way that Mariner handled this. This is not the way that Starfleet does things. I think the main issue with this planet was that you had a rat race eating the lizard race. Mariner's mom came down and decided that all they really needed were replicators to make pellets and not eat the lizard people. That made me excited because I've always wanted a replicator of my own. So Captain Friedman recommends that Mariner needs therapy for the way that she's handled things and the way that she's been acting out a lot recently. And of course Mariner is like, it's the 80s! We don't need therapy! Which I thought was funny on multiple levels. So Mariner goes to this therapist who makes a lot of food references, which were all kind of funny in their own little ways. She really thinks about how therapy, or traditional therapy, isn't going to work for her. She goes to the holodeck to make her own therapy, which I thought was extremely creative. While she's in there, she sees the rest of the gang. Boimler has made a holodeck program. He's downloaded everyone's logs from the ship, which is kind of illegal. He wanted to plan out this perfect day to kind of pull information out of the crew for his big interview with Captain Friedman. Mariner comes in, puts her own programming in, and decides to make a motion picture therapy session. And I was so blown away with how many little Star Trek references there were in this episode. I think this might, I say this almost every episode, I feel like, but this might actually be the one that has the most references in it. They mentioned almost all of the Star Trek motion pictures, like all of the Star Trek films. We've got tons of lens flares going on. We've got the shuttlecraft panning around the main ship with just oohs and ahs, and I think someone was crying at one point. I feel like the writers really incorporated a little something from each one of the films. So during this amazing motion picture therapy session, we get Mariner dealing with all of her problems, or all of her, her problems with her mom, but we also get Boimler kind of using it to his own advantage, sneakily trying to figure out little things about Captain Friedman. He's asking the crew members, instead of attacking the crew members, he's asking them, does she like cookies? If so, what's her favorite kind? What can I do to get on her good side? Then we have Tendi, who I loved her reaction to Mariner. I think Tendi is kind of like worried about Mariner. Mariner's kind of going off the deep end a little bit. And Tendi also was, portrayed as an Orion pirate. Love the quote that she made about the slaves and not feeling comfortable with all of that because of the Orion slave girls. And I thought that was one of the better lines from this episode. And then you have Rutherford, his own little mission. He is basically making sweet, sweet love to the head engineer. He is telling him what a badass he is and how wonderful and beautiful his creations are. He's not making actual love, but he's making nerd love to him. And then you have Mariner on this very intense therapy session with her mom, and oh my god, I mean, it gets so deep. It gets so deep. Mariner she's just really taking all of her aggression and her, her feelings and her emotions out on her mom in the holodeck. Mariner is about to kill her mom, which is totally not Star Trek at all. And then right before she makes the final blow, we get a second Mariner. I guess Brad programmed another Mariner in there. Second Mariner jumps in, saves the day, and says, "Get away from her!" Bia! Which is, of course, the quote from Aliens by Sigourney Weaver. Honestly, I was really shocked at how much went into this episode. I feel like it really, you got to see so many layers of some of the characters, and it was, honestly, I was blown away. I've been watching the show, and when it first came out, I thought it was kind of rinky dinky. Didn't really think much of it. I thought it was going to be a Rick and Morty spoof of Star Trek. As I've watched it, again, we're on episode 9. I have just really, truly fallen in love with it. I love what the writers are doing. So thank you guys for actually, taking this very seriously, but also in such a fun loving, goofy way. I wasn't expecting the level of deepness that we were going to get out of episode 9 at all this first season. And honestly, at all in this show. So at the end of the Star Trek film that Mariner's created in the holodeck to kind of work out her own therapy issues, she is dealing with her stuff, but Brad is on his own mission. And at the end, he finds out a really big secret that, Mariner is Captain Friedman's daughter. Dun, dun, dun! And she kind of says, if anyone ever found out, I'd have to kill them, or something to that effect. He was like, oh my gosh, what? I think his mind is just really blown at this point. At the end of the episode, he's got the holodeck is over and he's got his real life meeting with Captain Friedman. All he can think about is the fact that he knows that Mariner is her daughter. And he also knows that he can't say that, otherwise he'll be in deep doo-doo. So he is just making a fool of himself, really blowing this interview completely. I think he winds up leaving the interview halfway through because he just has a total meltdown. And Captain Friedman's like, this guy's a lunatic, And some things that we missed about this episode that I really want to talk about is Da Vinci. We have Da Vinci popping up a few times in this episode on the holodeck. And it was just a really great throwback to all the times that Janeway spent with Da Vinci. Throwbacks with Voyager was really, really nice. In the comments below, let us know what you guys thought about Star Trek Lower Decks episode 9, Crisis Point. So we'll see you guys next week for the last and final episode of season 1 of Lower Decks. Live long and prosper, my dudes.